The trading station hung in the void like a glittering jewel, surrounded by the endless darkness of space. Ships of all sizes moved around it, carrying cargo, passengers, and travelers from countless star systems. Some ships were sleek and polished, with sharp edges that reflected the distant stars. Others were bulky, patched up, and noisy, showing the marks of years of travel through dangerous space. Among the crowd of aliens moving through the main docking hub, there was a sense of curiosity, suspicion, and mild arrogance. Each species had its own culture, its own way of speaking, and its own pride. Some aliens wore colorful patterns on their skin, others had glowing eyes, and some had limbs that bent in directions humans could not imagine. They all regarded newcomers with careful observation. Into this busy hub stepped a human. His frame was ordinary, neither tall nor particularly strong, and his clothes were simple. A faded jacket, practical boots, and a worn utility belt. His eyes, however, were bright, alert, and full of curiosity. Where most humans might feel small and insignificant in such a place, he walked with calm confidence, taking in every detail, every movement, every sound. As he moved through the docking hub, some aliens noticed him immediately. Whispers spread quickly. A human? On this station? They say humans are weak. I want to see if he even knows how to survive here. He paused near a large hollow screen showing interstellar trade news. A few young aliens glanced at him and laughed. Look at him, one said. He doesn't even look like he belongs here. The human ignored them, smiling slightly to himself. Not far from him, a group of aliens had gathered around a small cafe area. Among them was a woman whose features marked her as a member of a proud and intelligent species. Her skin was smooth and reflective, her eyes deep and calculating, and her movements were precise. She had seen many travelers in her life, but humans were rare here. She raised an eyebrow at the human and whispered to her companion, "Do you think he has any stories to tell? Humans usually exaggerate everything." The human, sensing attention, spoke softly to no one in particular. "I come from a place called Earth," he said. His voice was steady, calm, and surprisingly confident. "It is a world of oceans, forests, mountains, and cities. It has people who create, fight, explore, and dream." The alien woman laughed, sharp and amused. "Oh, please," she said. "I have seen many species boast of their worlds. Humans, they are nothing. Stories like that are meant to entertain children, not impress anyone here." The human smiled but did not argue. Instead, he leaned against a railing and began to describe the Earth in more detail. Imagine a forest so vast that it takes days to cross it. Rivers so wide they seem to touch the horizon. Animals that fly, crawl, and swim in ways you cannot imagine. People who can invent machines, write stories, compose music, and explore the stars. The woman rolled her eyes. "I've heard of other planets with forests and rivers. What makes Earth so special? I doubt humans can survive here without constant help." Instead of responding with words, the human turned his gaze toward the station's nearby ship repair hangar. "You may see," he said simply. "I prefer to show rather than tell." The alien woman narrowed her eyes. Show what? Humans cannot do what we can. This will be amusing." Within the hangar, a small cargo ship sat idle, its hull scratched and panels loose. A team of alien engineers had tried to repair it for days, but the ship's systems were complex, and their technology did not completely match the design. The human approached slowly, observing the panels, engines, and control modules. He knelt beside the ship, taking out tools from his belt, simple yet precise instruments designed for multiple purposes. The aliens in the hangar noticed him immediately. "Who let him in?" one hissed. "A human? He cannot fix this." The human did not respond. He worked quietly, examining wires, conduits, and circuits. His hands moved with care, his movements deliberate but swift. He used tools in ways the aliens had never considered, bending, twisting, connecting parts in patterns that seemed unusual but effective. The alien woman walked closer, her curiosity overcoming her pride. She watched as the human adjusted panels, replaced wires, and recalibrated systems with skill she did not expect. He moved confidently among technology he had never seen before, yet every step was correct. The ship's system slowly began to hum with life. "Impossible," whispered one of the alien engineers. "How does he know what he is doing?" The human looked up briefly and smiled. "I have learned to adapt. Every machine has logic, every system a pattern. You need only observe carefully and think creatively." By mid-afternoon, the ship's engines purred like new. Its shields were stronger, its navigation precise, and its storage compartments more organized than before. The aliens could hardly believe what they saw. The human had done in a few hours what the station's best engineers could not achieve in days. The alien woman stepped closer, her earlier laughter replaced with surprise. "I did not expect this," she said softly. "How is it possible?" The human shrugged. "I am not claiming to be better than anyone. I simply do not accept limitations that are not necessary. Where others see problems, I see challenges." A crowd began to gather around, whispering in awe. Some aliens, still skeptical, shook their heads. Others, more open-minded, nodded in quiet admiration. The human continued his work, fine-tuning small details, testing the engines, and adjusting energy flow. Each action was simple but perfect, showing ingenuity rather than brute strength. When he finally stepped back, the ship's systems were fully functional. The human's calm smile and composed demeanor contrasted sharply with the alien's chatter and astonishment. The alien woman remained close, studying him. "You speak of Earth," she said, almost hesitantly, "but I see your skills are real. Perhaps humans are more capable than I thought." The human tilted his head. "Skills are not just about strength. They are about observation, creativity, and persistence. Humans survive by thinking, learning, and acting when others hesitate." The woman studied him, noticing his quiet confidence and steady gaze. Something about his calm presence made her reconsider her earlier mockery. She felt a mix of respect and intrigue, emotions she rarely experienced toward strangers. Just then, the repaired ship powered up fully. Lights blinked along its hull. Its engines hummed with readiness, and its controls responded perfectly to input commands. The human stepped aside as the original crew, aliens who had doubted him, carefully examined the results. One engineer muttered, "I do not understand." "It is perfect." The alien woman, no longer laughing, nodded slowly. "It seems your stories were not lies," she said softly. "Perhaps humans are different than I imagined." The human smiled, but he said nothing. Instead, he gestured toward the ship. "There is more to show," he said. "Earth may seem small and primitive to some, but humans have ways of seeing the world that others often miss. I can tell stories, or I can show you what is possible." The alien woman watched him, her pride and skepticism still present but tempered with fascination. She realized that this human, this stranger from a distant, seemingly ordinary planet, was extraordinary in ways she could not yet fully understand. As the crowd slowly dispersed, whispers of admiration and disbelief filled the hangar. The human remained quiet, surveying the station and its inhabitants with calm interest. He was not seeking praise, only observation and understanding. The alien woman remained behind, her thoughts racing. She had laughed at his stories, mocked his claims, and doubted his abilities. Now she understood that humans could do things other species could not imagine, not through brute strength nor through arrogance, but through cleverness, courage, and the willingness to face challenges directly. For the first time in her life, she felt a curiosity she could not dismiss. She wanted to see more, to witness the human's abilities, his thinking, and perhaps the truths behind the stories he told. The human glanced at the stars beyond the station, as if seeing something far away yet close to his heart. "There is always more to explore," he said quietly, almost to himself. "And always more to learn." The alien woman, hidden in the shadows, smiled faintly. She did not laugh. She did not scoff. She only watched, intrigued, wondering what other surprises this human from Earth might reveal. And somewhere deep inside she admitted, quietly, to herself, that perhaps humans were not to be underestimated. The station's lights flickered as ships moved past, each carrying stories of countless worlds. But tonight one story stood out, a story of a human stranger, ordinary in appearance, extraordinary in action, who quietly began to change the way aliens would think about Earth. And the alien woman, once a skeptic, now felt the first sparks of respect, curiosity, and maybe even admiration. She could not yet explain it, but she knew one thing: she would not be laughing at his stories for much longer. The next day, the human returned to the station with quiet determination. Word of his skills had spread overnight, and whispers followed him wherever he went. Aliens of many species peeked from corners, curious, skeptical, and a little wary. The alien woman who had watched him the day before followed discreetly, her interest now deeper than mere curiosity. The human walked toward the hangar where a larger transport ship had been docked for repairs. This ship was bigger, older, and more complex than the one he had fixed yesterday. The aliens in charge of its repair had been struggling for weeks. Even the engineers considered parts of it beyond repair. "Another human?" muttered one engineer, clearly annoyed. "I cannot imagine how he could help with this. He is not trained in our technology." The human smiled gently. "I will do what I can," he said simply. "Sometimes understanding the problem is more important than knowing every detail in advance." He stepped into the hangar, carefully observing the ship. Its engines were sluggish and the power core showed signs of instability. Panels were loose and circuits were tangled like vines. The human crouched near the main console, examining each wire and control module. His hands moved quickly but precisely, testing connections, adjusting circuits, and checking energy flows. The alien woman watched from a distance, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. She remembered her laughter the previous day, but now she felt something she had not expected, a sense of anticipation. She wanted to see how he would solve a problem that seemed impossible. Other aliens in the hangar began to gather, whispering doubts and predictions. He will fail. He will make things worse. Humans cannot compete with our technology. The human ignored them. He worked quietly, focusing on the ship and its systems. Slowly, step by step, he repaired panels, rerouted energy lines, and recalibrated the engines. But he did not simply follow the manuals or common procedures. He used creative solutions, combining knowledge from Earth machines with what he observed in the alien technology. By late morning, the engines hummed with life. The lights on the control panels blinked steadily, indicating balanced power. But the human was not done. He had noticed a flaw in the navigation system, something the aliens had overlooked for weeks. He moved to the console and began working with precise gestures, adjusting software codes and physical connections. Aliens who had watched skeptically before now whispered in awe. "What is he doing? I have never seen that approach. It actually works." The alien woman stepped closer. He is fixing it," she said under her breath, "and in ways I do not understand." She felt a strange mixture of surprise and respect. Humans, she realized, were not just physically clever. They could think in ways aliens did not expect. Once the ship's systems were fully operational, the human climbed into the pilot seat and began a series of tests. The ship lifted from the hangar smoothly, moving with precision through the station's docking area. Then, in a bold demonstration, he executed a complex maneuver, a sharp turn combined with an energy-efficient boost that the station's engineers had insisted was impossible for the ship's size and condition. The aliens gasped. Some stepped back in fear, thinking the ship might crash, but it did not. The maneuver was perfect, fluid, and elegant. The human had turned a seemingly ordinary, outdated ship into a machine that could perform beyond expectations. The alien woman's eyes widened. She felt a mix of astonishment and admiration. I did not think a human could do this," she admitted quietly. She had mocked his stories of Earth, laughed at his claims, and doubted him completely. Now she realized that his abilities went far beyond storytelling. When the ship landed back safely in the hangar, the human climbed down and began explaining his approach. He spoke in simple, clear words, describing why he had adjusted certain systems and how small changes could create large effects. He did not boast, he only shared knowledge. "See," he said to the gathered aliens, "sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to step back, observe carefully, and think creatively. You do not always need brute force or complex methods. Understanding the system is the key." The alien woman approached him cautiously. You really come from a world like Earth?" she asked, her voice soft. "Do humans really do all the things you said yesterday?" The human smiled. "Yes, and there is much more that you do not know. But showing is often more effective than telling." She nodded slowly, impressed. You have proven more than I expected. Humans are not weak, they think differently." Just then an alarm blared in the hangar. Another ship, a larger cargo vessel, had been damaged during a docking maneuver. Its engines were failing and the crew was trapped inside. Panic spread among the aliens. Many of them stepped back, unsure what to do. Without hesitation, the human ran toward the ship. The alien woman followed, partly to help, partly to watch. The situation was dangerous. Sparks flew from damaged circuits and the ship teetered as its engines failed. The human climbed inside, quickly assessing the problem. He began rerouting power, adjusting the engines, and stabilizing the ship. Aliens who had mocked him earlier now stared in disbelief. He moved with calm precision, his mind working faster than anyone could follow. The alien woman could not help but admire his courage. Humans, she realized, were not only skilled, they could remain calm under pressure. They could think clearly when others panicked. After tense minutes that felt much longer, the ship's engines roared back to life. The crew, shaken but safe, looked at the human with gratitude and awe. The alien woman stepped forward. I must apologize," she said quietly. "I laughed at your stories. I doubted your abilities. I did not expect this." The human shook his head. "There is no need to apologize. Doubt is natural. Actions speak louder than words." She studied him carefully. "Actions? Yes. You have shown more than words ever could. Humans are capable of things we never imagined." The crowd of aliens murmured in agreement. Some were still skeptical, but many were now curious. A few approached the human asking questions about his methods, his tools, and even his homeworld, Earth. The human answered politely, explaining his thought process, showing small techniques, and encouraging them to think creatively. Slowly, the aliens began to see that humans were not only inventive but adaptable, able to learn quickly and solve problems in ways they had never considered. The alien woman lingered nearby, her mind racing. She remembered how she had mocked him, laughed at his tales, and dismissed Earth as primitive. Now she realized she had been wrong. Humans were not only different, they were capable, brave, and clever. You are different from anyone I have ever met," she admitted. "I thought humans were weak. I thought they could not survive in space or handle complex technology. But you prove otherwise." The human smiled warmly. "Humans have survived in many environments. We learn from mistakes, adapt quickly, and find solutions when others hesitate. It is not about strength. It is about resilience and creativity." For a moment, she simply watched him. She felt a strange mix of respect and curiosity. There was more to this human than she had expected. She wanted to see what else he could do, what other skills he had, and perhaps even learn from him. The human glanced around the hangar, noticing the mixed expressions on the aliens' faces. Some were amazed, some skeptical, and some quietly taking mental notes of his methods. He did not seek praise. He only wished to solve problems and show that humans could make a difference, even far from their homeworld. As the day ended, the alien woman walked beside him, a little hesitant but genuinely interested. "Tomorrow," she said quietly, "I want to see more. Show me how humans think. Show me more of Earth's ways." The human nodded. "I will, but remember, it is not just about showing. It is about learning together. There is much we can teach each other." She felt a small thrill of excitement. For the first time, she looked at a human not as weak or primitive, but as someone capable, clever, and courageous. She had laughed at his stories. Now she realized she had underestimated him completely. And somewhere deep inside, she felt the first spark of curiosity about Earth itself, a world she had never seen, but now wanted to understand through the eyes of this remarkable human. The stars outside the station glittered silently, as if witnessing the beginning of a change. A change in perception, a change in respect, and perhaps the beginning of something extraordinary between humans and aliens who had never thought them capable. The human walked on, calm and unassuming, leaving a trail of admiration and astonishment behind him. The alien woman, once skeptical, now felt anticipation. She could no longer dismiss him. She wanted to see what he would do next, and she knew one thing for certain: she would never laugh at his stories again. The day after the human's demonstration of skill, the station buzzed with rumors and whispers. Aliens of every species talked in quiet tones, debating what they had seen. Some could not believe that a human, an outsider, had repaired complex ships and handled dangerous situations with ease. Others were intrigued, wondering if Earth had hidden talents they had never considered. Among the crowd, one alien engineer watched with a growing sense of irritation. He was tall and broad, with patterned scales along his arms and a reputation for pride in his skills. He had always been regarded as one of the best engineers on the station. Now, after witnessing the human's success, he felt a mix of jealousy and disbelief. "He is just a human," the engineer grumbled to a companion. "He cannot possibly know more than we do. I will show him that humans are not superior to us." Word of the engineer's challenge spread quickly. It was unusual for a competition to occur, but the station's inhabitants were eager for entertainment. The alien woman, who had watched the human quietly, frowned. She was not certain if the challenge was fair or wise, but she could not deny her curiosity. She wanted to see how the human would respond. The human, meanwhile, moved through the station calmly. He had heard the whispers, noticed the stares, and understood what was coming. When approached by the alien engineer, he smiled politely. "You want to challenge me?" he asked, his tone calm. The engineer snorted. "Yes. You claim humans are clever, inventive, and capable. Let us see if you can prove it. I challenge you to construct a device, one that can survive hazardous conditions. The fastest and most functional creation wins." The human nodded. "Very well. I accept." He looked at the alien woman who was standing nearby. "Are you interested in observing?" She nodded, her curiosity deepening. "Yes. I want to see what humans can do when truly tested." The challenge was set in a large arena within the station. Aliens from many species gathered to watch, buzzing with excitement. Some whispered predictions, others doubted the humans' chances. The device to be built was simple in description, but extremely difficult in practice. It had to withstand high temperatures, rapid pressure changes, and exposure to magnetic storms. The aliens' challenge was not just mechanical, but also creative, requiring ingenuity, quick thinking, and adaptability. The human approached the task with quiet focus. He examined the materials, tools, and environmental simulations. While the alien engineer immediately began following standard procedures, the human paused, observing patterns, thinking several steps ahead. The alien woman watched in fascination. She noticed the human's calm demeanor, how he never rushed, how he seemed to visualize the problem before touching the materials. His hands moved deliberately, precise, almost like an artist painting a masterpiece. As the challenge progressed, the human began to use techniques unfamiliar to the aliens. He combined simple components in unexpected ways, used energy flow adjustments that mimicked natural processes from Earth, and adapted rapidly to the simulated hazards. The alien engineer grew frustrated. "He cannot possibly survive the magnetic storm test," he muttered. Yet when the simulation began, the human's device stood firm, responding to the changes with smooth efficiency. Sparks flew, panels rattled, and alarms sounded, but the device remained intact. The crowd gasped. Some aliens cheered quietly, others whispered in disbelief. The human smiled faintly, his eyes calm and steady. He did not celebrate. He simply adjusted minor connections, fine-tuned energy flows, and continued building. The alien woman stepped closer, her fascination growing. She had laughed at his stories, doubted his abilities, and dismissed humans entirely. Now she was witnessing a human not just surviving a challenge, but excelling in ways no alien had expected. Hours passed, and the final test approached. The device had to float through a simulated asteroid field while maintaining its core function. The alien engineer's creation moved clumsily, bumping against obstacles and losing some internal components. The human's device, however, glided smoothly, adjusting automatically to collisions and sudden movements. The crowd erupted in surprise and admiration. The alien engineer's pride faltered. He had expected to dominate the competition, but the human's calm ingenuity, adaptability, and creative problem-solving had outmatched him. The alien woman could not hide her respect. She stepped forward, almost unconsciously, and whispered, I did not think a human could do this." The human glanced at her, smiling faintly. "It is not about being better than anyone. It is about observing, learning, and responding. That is how humans survive and excel." The final round ended. The judges, a council of senior engineers, examined both devices carefully. After thorough evaluation, they announced the human's device as superior. It had survived every test flawlessly, adapted to hazards automatically, and remained fully functional. The crowd cheered, though some aliens were still skeptical. The alien engineer looked furious, unable to accept the result gracefully. The human, however, remained calm, stepping aside and giving the engineer a polite nod. The alien woman approached the human. You have proven humans are capable," she said softly. Not only strong in skill, but clever, adaptive, and calm under pressure. I cannot deny it, the human smiled. I am glad to show it. But there is more to humans than skill alone. We survive by thinking creatively, working together, and not giving up. She studied him, noticing the quiet confidence in his eyes. He did not boast, did not demand recognition, yet every action he had taken spoke louder than words. She felt admiration growing within her, a feeling she had rarely experienced. The alien engineer stormed off in frustration, but the station remained abuzz with talk of the human. Aliens discussed his methods, his calm approach, and the creative solutions he had used. For the first time, many began to consider Earth and humans not as weak or primitive, but as clever, inventive, and worthy of respect. Later, the human returned to the hangar where he had been first observed. The alien woman walked beside him, no longer skeptical but genuinely interested. You are different from any species I have ever met, she admitted. You think differently, adapt quickly, and remain calm when others panic. Humans are remarkable. The human smiled. Thank you. We learn from challenges and adapt. That is how we survive on Earth. And elsewhere. She nodded slowly. I want to see more. Show me more of your world, your thinking, your methods. Teach me, if you are willing. I will, he said simply. But remember, teaching is not just showing. It is sharing understanding. There is much we can learn from each other. For a long moment she watched him. She had laughed at his stories once. She had doubted, mocked, and dismissed him. Now admiration and curiosity had replaced her skepticism. She realized that humans were not merely a species of stories. They were capable, clever, and unpredictable. Tomorrow, she said, her voice filled with anticipation. I want to see how humans solve problems that even we consider impossible. The human nodded. We will see. There is much to show and even more to learn. As the two walked through the station, the stars outside shimmered silently, witnessing a quiet shift. The human had not only proven skill and intelligence, he had changed the perception of humans for those who had doubted them. The alien woman, once a skeptic, now felt excitement and curiosity. She wondered what other feats this human could achieve, what other surprises he had in store, and how his presence might challenge everything she thought she knew about humans. And somewhere deep inside, she admitted, quietly to herself, that humans, with their resilience, creativity, and courage, could be far greater than any alien had imagined. The human, calm and unassuming, continued on his path. He was not seeking glory or dominance. He only sought to show what humans could do when faced with impossible challenges, and to prove that courage, creativity, and adaptability could change the minds of even the most skeptical observers. The station, once filled with whispers of doubt, now buzzed with fascination. Aliens who had mocked him now discussed him with respect. The alien woman who had once laughed openly at his stories now walked silently beside him, watching, learning, and waiting for the next demonstration. For the first time, she felt the truth of his words. Actions spoke louder than stories, and humans, she realized, were capable of far more than she had ever imagined. The station had grown quiet after the day's challenges. Most aliens returned to their duties, though whispers of the humans' skills still echoed through the corridors. Even the alien woman, once skeptical, walked with a thoughtful expression. She could not forget the human's calm determination, his clever solutions, and the way he had handled challenges with ease. She had expected exaggeration and stories, yet what she had seen was far beyond words. But the calm was short-lived. A sudden piercing alarm echoed throughout the station, sending vibrations through metal floors and walls. Red lights flashed in the docking areas and hangars. Aliens stopped in their tracks, confusion and panic spreading quickly. "What is happening?" shouted one engineer, running toward the control center. "We were not warned." The human, who had been walking through the corridors, immediately stopped. His sharp eyes scanned the situation, noting the flickering lights, warning sounds, and sudden malfunctions in the station's systems. Without hesitation, he ran toward the control center. The alien woman followed, her heart racing. She felt fear, yes, but also a growing respect for the human's courage. He did not hesitate. He did not panic. He simply moved forward with calm determination, assessing the danger and planning a solution in his mind. Inside the control center, chaos reigned. Holographic panels blinked wildly, showing critical systems failing, power fluctuations, life support warnings, and engine instability. Engineers shouted instructions to each other, but confusion and fear slowed their actions. "This is bad," muttered one alien. "If the core destabilizes, the entire station could explode." The human stepped forward. "Step back," he said calmly. "Let me assess the situation first." Many aliens hesitated, unsure if they should listen to a human. But the alien woman, seeing the calm in his eyes, nodded subtly. "Listen to him," she whispered to a nearby engineer. "He knows what he is doing." The human moved quickly, analyzing every system, every warning light, every error code. He noticed patterns, subtle indications that the core's instability had begun in one module and was spreading. He also realized that some of the automated failsafe systems were malfunctioning, making the situation far more dangerous. "Power must be redirected manually," he said. "Some modules need to be isolated while others require immediate recalibration. I will guide you, but you must follow instructions exactly." The engineers glanced at each other, fear in their eyes, but nodded. The human began giving precise commands, pointing to panels, wires, and conduits. His instructions were clear, calm, and step by step. The alien woman worked closely beside him, assisting where she could. She noticed how he remained composed, even as alarms blared and sparks flew from damaged systems. He did not panic. He did not shout. He simply focused on solving the problem. Minutes passed, but the human's calm presence seemed to slow the panic around him. Aliens who had been frozen in fear began to move with purpose, following his instructions exactly. The human's ability to adapt to the failing systems and use both alien and basic engineering principles amazed them. At one point, a surge of energy caused a small explosion in a nearby module. Aliens jumped back, expecting disaster, but the human had already anticipated the surge. He quickly adjusted a conduit, redirecting the energy safely. The system stabilized for a moment, giving them precious seconds to continue. The alien woman's respect deepened. She had seen him repair ships, overcome technical challenges, and outthink alien engineers in competitions. Now she saw him facing life-threatening danger with courage, skill, and calm determination. She felt something stirring inside her: admiration, respect, and an understanding that humans were capable of more than she had ever imagined. The human moved to the core itself, where energy readings were dangerously high. Sparks flew and the air smelled faintly of ozone. He carefully analyzed the modules, deciding which to isolate and which to stabilize first. His hands moved quickly but precisely, adjusting circuits, rerouting power, and recalibrating controls. "Do not touch that panel," warned an alien engineer. "It is highly unstable." The human glanced at him calmly. "Trust me, I have a method." He worked carefully, following a pattern that combined observation, logic, and intuition. Slowly, the energy readings began to stabilize. The alarms grew quieter. The red lights blinked less frantically. The alien woman could hardly breathe as she watched. Sparks flew around them, alarms still rang, and yet the human remained completely composed. Each adjustment he made was perfect, precise, and effective. Finally, after tense minutes that felt like hours, the last module stabilized. The core's energy readings returned to normal. Life support systems regained balance. Engines hummed steadily and the station lights flickered back to a safe level. A collective sigh of relief passed through the room. Engineers who had been panicked moments before now stared in awe at the human. Even those who had doubted him could not deny the skill, courage, and intelligence he had displayed. The alien woman stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. You saved the station," she said softly. I do not know how to thank you." The human smiled gently. "No thanks is needed. I only did what was necessary. Panic does not solve problems. Calm observation, quick thinking, and careful action do." She studied him, amazed. She had laughed at his stories once, mocked his claims, and doubted humans completely. Now she realized that he was more than a storyteller. He was a problem solver, a leader, and a human capable of extraordinary things. "Humans," she whispered to herself. "They are clever, brave, and adaptable. The station's engineers slowly began to regain their composure. They thanked the human, offered him assistance, and even apologized for doubting his abilities. He nodded politely, accepting their gratitude but never boasting. The alien woman stayed close, observing quietly. She wanted to understand him better. Not just his skills, but his thinking, his philosophy, and the way he approached challenges. She realized that humans did not rely on raw strength or arrogance. They relied on intelligence, creativity, and courage. Later, when the chaos had subsided, the human and the alien woman walked through the corridors of the station. The stars outside glimmered silently, casting reflections across the metal walls. She looked at him with newfound respect. You are unlike any species I have met," she said quietly. "Humans are more than I thought. You remain calm under pressure, think creatively, and act decisively. You saved countless lives today." The human smiled. "Thank you. Humans survive by adapting to challenges, learning from mistakes, and acting when others hesitate. Courage is not about being fearless. It is about facing danger with focus and clarity." She nodded slowly, her thoughts racing. She had underestimated humans completely. She had laughed at his stories, thinking them foolish, and yet here he was, saving a station that even experienced engineers could not stabilize. "I want to see more," she admitted. "I want to learn from you, see how humans think, and perhaps understand your world." The human glanced at her, smiling faintly. "There is much to show and even more to learn together, but courage, observation, and creativity are the keys. Skills alone are not enough." She felt a spark of excitement. For the first time, she looked at a human not as weak or primitive, but as capable, clever, and inspiring. She wanted to see what other surprises he had in store, what challenges he could overcome, and what stories of Earth might be true. As the two walked on, the station slowly returned to normal. Aliens who had doubted the human now whispered about his skill, bravery, and calm demeanor. Even the rival engineer avoided confrontation, unable to ignore the human's actions and the admiration he had earned. The alien woman remained by his side, her mind filled with questions. How could one human accomplish so much? How could he remain calm under such pressure? And what other abilities did humans possess that she had yet to see? For the first time, she admitted to herself, quietly, privately, that humans were not just clever but capable of greatness that even the most skilled alien could not match. She felt admiration, respect, and a hint of curiosity that went beyond professional interest. The human, calm and unassuming, continued walking. He had not sought glory, praise, or recognition. He only acted to solve problems and demonstrate the potential of humans through action. Yet his deeds had changed perceptions, earned respect, and begun to inspire those who had once doubted him. And the alien woman, once a skeptic, now walked beside him, eager to see what came next. She knew she would never laugh at his stories again. Not after what she had witnessed. The stars outside sparkled silently as if acknowledging the shift. A human stranger, ordinary in appearance, had changed the minds of aliens through courage, intelligence, and calm action. And the alien woman, once doubtful, now felt admiration, curiosity, and anticipation for the human's next feat. For the first time, she realized that humans, with their adaptability, courage, and creativity, could be far greater than she had ever imagined. The station had quieted after the previous day's crisis. Aliens moved through corridors with cautious efficiency, repairing systems that had been affected by the emergency. Whispers of the human's actions filled every corner. Even those who had doubted him could no longer ignore his skills, courage, and intelligence. The alien woman walked through the main hub, her thoughts still focused on the human. She remembered his calm demeanor, precise actions, and the way he had solved problems that even experienced engineers had struggled with for weeks. She had laughed at his stories of Earth once, and now she could not stop thinking about him. She spotted him near a docking bay, examining a medium-sized cargo vessel. He moved with quiet confidence, observing the ship's systems, checking energy flows, and making small adjustments. He did not rush. He did not boast. He simply worked, solving problems as they appeared. She approached him quietly. You are incredible," she said softly. "I have seen you repair ships, face impossible challenges, and remain calm when others panic. Humans are far more capable than I imagined." The human glanced up, smiling faintly. "Thank you. Humans survive by adapting, observing, and acting carefully. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting despite it. And intelligence is not only knowledge, it is knowing how to apply it wisely. She nodded slowly. She had doubted him once, mocked his stories, and assumed humans were weak. Now admiration filled her thoughts. I want to understand your world, she admitted. I want to see how humans think and perhaps learn from you. The human's eyes brightened. There is much to share and much to learn. Curiosity is the first step to understanding. But true understanding comes from experience, not only observation. They walked together through the station. Other aliens paused, observing the pair. Some whispered their astonishment, noting how the alien woman, a respected member of her species, walked beside a human with respect and attention. The human, calm and composed, seemed unaware of the attention. Suddenly, an alert blared from the station's control center. A small transport ship had lost power near the outer docking ring. It was carrying essential supplies, and the crew had reported a critical system failure. Panic flared in the control room as engineers rushed to respond. The human moved immediately, already planning his approach. We need to stabilize the power, bypass damaged circuits, and manually control the engines, he said. I will lead the operation, but we must act quickly. The alien woman followed him, ready to assist. She noticed how his calm voice reassured the anxious engineers. Where others panicked, he acted with precision and clarity. His presence alone seemed to inspire confidence. Inside the transport ship, sparks flew, alarms rang, and the control panels flickered wildly. The human quickly assessed the systems, isolating damaged modules and rerouting power. His hands moved rapidly, adjusting conduits and reconnecting circuits with skill and creativity. The alien woman observed closely, noting how he anticipated problems before they occurred. He did not rush blindly. He thought, analyzed, and adapted. Each adjustment was deliberate, effective, and precise. The ship's engines roared back to life. The crew inside, exhausted and scared, looked at the human with amazement. How did you? One pilot began, but the human only nodded calmly. Stay focused, he said. The ship must be guided to safety. Panic will not help. With careful coordination, the human guided the ship back to the station's docking bay. The engines responded perfectly, the system stabilized, and the crew disembarked safely. Cheers erupted from the control room and the gathered onlookers. The alien woman stepped forward, her voice filled with awe. You saved another ship again. Humans are extraordinary, the human smiled faintly. Humans survive by learning from challenges, observing carefully, and acting decisively. That is how we overcome obstacles. Aliens who had once doubted him now approached, asking questions, requesting guidance, and even offering collaboration. The human shared his knowledge patiently, demonstrating techniques, explaining his logic, and encouraging others to think creatively. The alien woman stayed close, fascinated by his methods and philosophy. She had laughed at his stories, doubted his abilities, and assumed humans were weak. Now she realized that humans were not only clever and brave, they were capable of inspiring confidence, teaching others and changing perspectives. As the day ended, the station gathered for a formal recognition ceremony. The Council of Senior Engineers and officials acknowledged the human's actions, courage, and contributions. They presented him with a Medal of Honor, a symbol of respect rarely given to outsiders. The alien woman watched proudly. She had witnessed his skill, bravery, and intelligence firsthand. She knew that humans were more than stories. They were capable of greatness, and this human had proven it repeatedly. When the ceremony concluded, she approached him. You have changed the way we think about humans, she said. I am grateful for what you have done, and I want to continue learning from you. The human nodded gently. Thank you. But remember, it is not only about what I can do. It is about curiosity, observation, and courage. Anyone willing to learn can achieve more than they imagine. She smiled, feeling respect, admiration, and something deeper. I want to see more of your world, your thinking, and perhaps even your home planet someday. Earth, it must be extraordinary. He looked at her, a faint light of amusement in his eyes. Earth has much to offer, but every world has lessons to teach. Humans survive not only by strength, but by thinking creatively, adapting, and working together. That is the true skill. She nodded slowly, understanding. She had doubted him, laughed at his stories, and assumed he was ordinary. Now she realized that humans were not ordinary. They were capable, clever, and resilient. As the station quieted and the stars shimmered outside, she felt admiration growing into something stronger. The human had proven skill, courage, and intelligence repeatedly. He had saved lives, solved impossible problems, and inspired respect across the station. For the first time, she looked at him not as a human, not as an outsider, but as someone remarkable, someone capable of extraordinary things, someone she wanted to understand, to learn from, and perhaps even trust completely. The human, calm and unassuming, continued his quiet work, repairing a small drone that had been damaged during the emergency. He did not seek attention or praise, yet his actions had earned him recognition, respect, and admiration from beings across the station. The alien woman stayed close, watching him carefully. She had once laughed at his stories. Now she would follow him, learn from him, and see what other surprises humans had in store. She understood that humans, with their creativity, courage, and intelligence, could be far greater than any alien had imagined. As night fell over the station, lights flickering softly across its corridors, the human looked out at the stars. Each one seemed to promise adventure, challenge, and discovery. The alien woman stood beside him, quiet but alert. She knew that the human from Earth had changed everything, not only on the station but in the minds of all who had witnessed his actions. Humans were no longer to be doubted. They were to be respected. They were to be understood. And she knew without a doubt that she would never laugh at his stories again. Not after everything she had seen. Not after everything he had done. In the quiet of the station, under the glow of distant stars, a new understanding had formed. Humans were clever, brave, adaptable, and capable of feats that inspired respect, admiration, and curiosity. The human had proven it, and the alien woman, once skeptical, now walked beside him with admiration, curiosity, and a sense that the universe itself had opened up to possibilities she had never imagined. She looked at him once more, smiling faintly. I will not doubt humans again," she said. He smiled gently. "Actions speak louder than stories. And humans, we strive to prove ourselves not through words but through deeds." The stars outside twinkled silently, as if acknowledging the truth of his words. Humans could accomplish the extraordinary. They could inspire respect across worlds, and they could change the minds of even the most skeptical observers. Together, the human and the alien woman walked through the station, ready for whatever challenges the future might bring. One had proven the power of courage, creativity, and intelligence. The other had learned the value of respect, curiosity, and admiration, and together, they had begun a journey that neither would ever forget. The galaxy, vast and mysterious, had glimpsed the extraordinary potential of humanity, and it would never see them the same way again.